On today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about the lack of six-string baritones in the electric guitar market. So without further ado, let's join in for another discussion. Now, briefly, let's just establish the basics when it comes to scale length on a guitar. Your standard guitars are typically going to either have a scale length of 24 3/4 inches like your classic Gibsons or 25.5 inches like a Fender Strat. To make it as simple as possible, you have a shorter scale length, you're gonna have less string tension. You have longer scale length, you're going to have more string tension. Just think of it as the contrast between a ukulele and a bass guitar. So the purpose of a baritone guitar is going to have a longer scale length, which is going to provide much greater string tension to support lower tunings. So if you happen to be a modern progressive gent type guy, you're looking for that ultra low tuning, right? You're going drop A, going drop G, all that kind of stuff, maybe even lower, I'm not sure. You're obviously gonna wanna have that longer scale to get the right tension so the guitar plays correctly and you have better intonation. Now, when it comes to your standard off-the-shelf brands for guitars that are readily available through your typical retailers, there's just really not that many six-string baritones. Of course, it's probably a little bit more common to find a longer scale length on different 7-strings, but again, not everybody wants to play a 7-string. Me personally, I just feel like I don't need a 7-string. If I want to play something lower, I would just rather have the ergonomics, the comfort of a more standard width neck and just have a longer scale length with a 6-string baritone. But again, looking at all the options out there, I mean, there's just really not that many choices when it comes to 6-string baritone guitars. Let me take a moment just to go over a couple options for current models that are available. Now, I've always been a fan of Paul Reed Smith. The SE series has been around for quite some time. They have a pretty good value overall when it comes to looking at a good assortment of features, good price point, good quality. I've owned an SE baritone in the past. I actually used to have the old Mike Mashak SE Signature. It's a pretty cool guitar, plenty of tension with a 27.7-inch scale. The only downside, in my opinion, was just that wide, fat PRS neck profile. Now, me personally, I would prefer a slimmer neck profile. Obviously, once you go with the baritone, you've got that longer scale length. Those frets are going to be further apart. So that being said, you're going to have a little bit better ergonomics going with a slightly thinner profile. On top of that, the next issue was just the lack of a forearm contour. I feel like this is another department that really kind of falls short. And you can see the current model nowadays, they have their SE 277 baritone, same scale length, same wide fat profile. I believe this one does have the shallow violin carve on the body, but again, it's not really like a proper forearm contour. So you still get that kind of hard edge on the forearm and wrist. Just not very comfortable in my opinion. I really think this would be a perfect candidate for a fantastic baritone if they changed two things. The first being, instead of using the wide fat profile, I would switch that up to the PRS wide thin profile. The second being, if you were to take the bevel from the tops on the S2 series, this is a lot more comfortable. I've owned a PRS S2, a phenomenal series of guitars, tremendous value. So if they could do these two things, I think it'd be perfect. Maybe even if they just did like an S2 baritone, I think they could sell a ton of these guitars. I really do. Get the neck profile a little slimmer, get that comfortable bevel on the top. I think they would sell a ton of these. So again, huge fan of PRS, great respected name in the industry. I really think there's huge potential if they were to fine tune these options within their baritone line. Another example, Squier Classic Vibe. Man, I guess it's been a while since I've looked at like Fender and Squier prices because coming in at nearly 500 bucks, I mean, I guess with, modern day inflation, that's just what something costs. But man, I just still, for me, that's kind of a tough pill to swallow at, nearly 500 bucks for an Indonesian made Squier. I just feel like in my mind that should probably cost more like maybe 200 to 300 bucks tops. But hey, we got to look at inflation. Price of everything's really going up. If you're just looking for a basic T-type guitar, you want a baritone, I'm sure you could do lots of upgrades if you wanted to change out hardware, pickups, tuners, all that good stuff. Another 6-string baritone, the Ben Burnley LTD Signature. Now, me personally, I've always been a longtime fan of Breaking Benjamin. Huge fan of those guys. I feel like they do an amazing job. Just great songwriters, really aggressive, heavy guitar tones. Seen Breaking Ben in concert live, awesome experience. If you get a chance to see Breaking Benjamin live, if they come to a city near you, I would highly recommend checking it out. Taking a look at the LTD Ben Burnley signature, I do like the single cut shape, pretty much the same as like your EC1000 or your ESP Eclipse. I feel like 27 is probably that perfect medium for most people. It's obviously, you know, far more tension than you're gonna get from the 25.5, but it's not so much scale length where it just starts to feel like a totally different instrument. And again, that's really gonna come down to your personal preference. Really only drawbacks I can find on this one, I'm just not a fan of the red inlays. I just don't really feel like it goes well with that kind of grayish black color combo. I don't know, I like the Breaking Ben inlay. I mean, I think it looks really cool. I just feel like it would make more sense to maybe use like a lighter inlay material. That red just seems so out of place. Not a big fan of quilted satin. I've talked about that on other videos as well. Overall, great guitar. I've been a fan of ESP LTD for a long time. I would say quality, fit, and finish is pretty good. I've never had any complaints with any guitar come out of World Music Korea. If you're a single cut guy looking to play heavy, this could be an option. Added bonus if you are a Breaking Ben fan. I would say probably one of my favorites, if you go back and look at like some earlier Breaking Benjamin material, I'm a huge fan of those custom PRS semi-hollow baritones that Ben used to play. I mean, these guitars were like absolute, I mean, top tier, like private stock quality, as you would expect with any top dollar Paul Reed Smith. You know, back in the day before he switched over to LTD, when he was using PRS, I always felt like it would have made more sense like if they had just done like an SE, maybe like a Ben Burnley baritone version. I mean, they probably could have sold a ton of those. I really feel like that was a bit of a missed opportunity. Another option within the LTD lineup, you can see they do have the Viper shape, which is basically just their spin on the SG. Biggest issue with this, really, guys, everybody knows SGs are notorious for neck dive. The problem is obviously going to worsen just having a much longer neck with the baritone scale. So even if you're willing to make adjustments like maybe relocating the strap buttons or using some counterweights, you're probably still going to run into a lot of neck dive just with the inherent shape of the SG combination with that longer baritone neck. Kiesel does have a couple great options. I know some of their older models, I believe you can still call in and get a 27-inch scale length. That could be something worth looking into if you're serious about getting one. Outside of that, I know they do have a 26.5 if you want just a little bit more scale over the 25.5. You're not gonna get crazy amounts of tension, but if you're not looking to tune down to like crazy drop Z tuning, then obviously 26.5 is gonna be a good option as well. Another model that stands out to me is some of the Ibanez RG baritones. 28-inch scale length, definitely plenty of tension there. The only thing that really throws me off is why on earth is the nut width so wide on these 6 strings? I mean, if you take a look here on the website, I mean, we're talking a 1.77-inch nut width. I mean, that's just like insanely wide. I don't know why on earth Ibanez would do this, just knowing that most people that are accustomed to Ibanez, it's gonna have like that extra thin, flat shape. So kind of confused there. I don't know why they chose to use that spec on their baritone. Again, those frets are further apart. You're gonna wanna make the guitar easier to play, and I don't really see why it would make sense to go so crazy wide. I mean, that's literally wider than like a Mayonnaise neck, which at, I believe, 43.5 millimeters, I mean, that's pretty wide. Lastly, one other model I forgot to mention. I did previously own a Chapman ML3 Pro Rabia Masad signature baritone. As you guys know, Rabia is now signed artist with Ernie Ball Music Man. Really cool model he's got nowadays, but I did have one of the original ML3 Pro Moderns, and it was an absolute phenomenal guitar. The only reason I just didn't keep it was just because the 28-inch scale, at least for my intended purpose, was just a little bit more scale length than I needed. I feel like if that had been a 27, 100% would have been perfect. More information to come on Chapman guitars. I want to save that for a separate video, but lastly, just wanted to mention the Rabia signature as well. Outside of that, I mean, there's really not that much else for kind of like that happy sweet spot for like your 27-inch scale length. I'll leave a link down below if you want to look at like the baritone category at Sweetwater. They have it nicely organized, so you can look at all the different options. But really outside of that, man, there's like a couple like Dan Electros, like real kind of vintagey sort of stuff, a couple other odds and ends, but I just feel like, again, if you're just looking for like maybe like a normal, like an S shape or a T shape and like that 27-inch, that happy medium, there's just really not many options out there. I feel like this is just a huge missed opportunity to sell a ton of guitars amongst all these different brands. So that being said, considering there's not that many choices out there if you want a baritone 6-string, the next thing I want to talk about is what you can do to build your own baritone. Now, what I would personally do and plan to do myself is this. So what we have here, this is a 2015 Fender Strat HH. Obviously, main significant difference here as opposed to your single coils or your HSH. This one just has 2 humbuckers. So if you're looking to hit those low chugs, do a little drop Z, kind of gent, progressive stuff, this is gonna be a good blank canvas to work with. You guys may know there are Fender subsonic conversion necks you can buy directly from Fender. Coming in around $400, I feel like this is a pretty reasonable value. So with these conversion necks, again, it's gonna be a direct swap, basic, simple bolt-on installation. You're gonna go from your basic 25.5-inch scale length to the end result being a 27-inch scale length. These do come in both Palfero as well as maple fretboard options, so you can go with whichever you prefer. Now, if you are looking to go a bit longer on scale length, you want it to be a true long boy, by all means, check out Wormuth. Great, respected name, licensed by Fender. These guys make exceptional quality necks. They've got all types of different exotic fretboards, exotic shaft woods. You can pretty much go with whatever you want. If you are looking for that 28 5/8 scale length, then definitely check out Wormuth. You're not gonna be disappointed. Another company worth checking out, Musicraft, also has a good variety of different scale lengths when exploring 6-string baritone options. So again, if you have a Fender Strat you wanna build from, you can also explore Musicraft. I'll be sure to leave a link if you want to check out their website and configure your own conversion neck. So leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts about the current market as far as 6-string baritones. I know I only gave a couple examples in this video, just showcasing a few options out there. I'm sure there probably are a few other options out there. There could be some other brands that maybe are a little bit less known. Just want to go over a couple options with you guys just to showcase some examples. That's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I hope you guys find this discussion helpful, share some information with the community of guitar enthusiasts. Leave a comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.